Alright, so we're going to do another installment of Nothing's Flat, Nothing's Straight. So I've got this Deba that's coming back. And we can see he's sharpening the whole bevel on probably a 3K or more stone, at least 3K. But again, right away we have this little divot here. That's a low spot in the whole blade. So already this heel has been dug in somewhere. Yeah, at the tip we also have not scratched, so he's not getting that with his stone. On the other side is where the real problem's going to be. Let me put this down so we can get this right. There is a sliver right at the top here, what you could call a microbevel. Now we have the shiny part back here. This up front is already basically making all of this, doesn't matter. So again, that's not flat right now. So whatever happens here, either the dish stone or turned up or whatever, whoever's maintaining this in between when they bring it to me, this is what we have to contend with. So all of this is null and void in the back. So either we got to grind down past this in the front, or we've got to grind it down on the back to make it meet. So obviously the best option is to grind the bevel down more, but that's, if the bevel is pretty intact here, there's really no need to do more than just refresh that. All right? Why should I have to undo what they're going to do anyway when I give it back to them? So that's the real argument here. Again, if I have my own knife and I'm doing my own thing perfectly every time, zenning out, yeah, you could say don't do that. But here, I have to give this back to the person who's going to go and maintain it this way. So I have to let them be able to do that. So should I do more work than's necessary to fix that? Or do we leave it be and make it happen again so that they just return to their normal routine? This is the question here. What I'm going to do is see what happens and see what I feel like along the way. I really don't know yet. So we're going to use the 60 grit belt first. I'm going to come in and just redefine all of this and see if there is a harder and softer section to this. Again, to me it looks kind of all stainless, but we'll see. I'm not really seeing any indications anywhere that there's a core steel to this, so it might just be one slab of stainless. Let's take a look. Okay, so I've cleaned up that. Again, if you watched the previous video here, nothing's flat, nothing's straight. Same thing here. I've gone in and I've dug in the heel more to get that divot that was in there. Now it's got the scratches going at that angle, and we're running from the top of the shinogi line down to the tip, the edge. I haven't really tried to get the edge. I'm going to do that on the next belt. So yeah, everything's looking good. Everything's looking clean. So far so good. Again, I'm not seeing a real indicator of a hard versus soft steel. We'll see if something pops up on the next grit. What I have here is a differential in my scratches because I turned up the angle a little bit, but I'm seeing a different angle here basically, which I think makes it look like there's two steels, but it's not really contrasting right now. So I'm thinking still mono steel. So let's try the 120 grit and see what it looks like. Alright, so what we've got now is I've done a slightly different angle on behind the bevel here. And it looks like there's two steels now because my other first 60 grit angle is just skewed more. This is more straight here on the 120 grit, and the 60 grits are more skewed. This still needs to be thinned out regardless of what kind of steel it is. So yeah, we always want to bring that down a little bit so it doesn't have to cut through so much bulk as it cuts. Alright, so in putting this angle here, it makes it look like there's two different steels. I'm really not getting an indicator, again, through any sort of wavy line or color differentiation. It's just an angle thing right now. So I put a bevel on. That's my edge angle. I've actually got a burr here. It looks like it's kind of gonna get rid of what was there. That little thing in the beginning, that little slight micro bevel that was there at the beginning. It looks like we've gone far enough on just that little bit to kind of meet down where the flat should be. So we have a couple of choices to make here on the back side, which we haven't touched yet. You know, what I'm going to do is actually just do it on the platen here. This is flat enough, and just, you know, just want to touch it, make it nice, just to get rid of that burr. Just that little bit. Clearly, we've gotten rid of a lot of that shine. Just on that, again, that 120 belt, real light, just one pass coming across. There is still some of the tip here. Again, not uncommon to have a flare. So what I'm going to do is just a little bit more here. Yeah, I'll flatten this out, but the alternative is I have to turn this up. And I really don't want to do that because that's the whole problem we had in the first place. So when I come over here, what I could do is, you know, as I'm coming off here, I can actually just kind of come down a little bit. And in doing so, we'll just allow it to be a little bit more. Again, instead of trying to do the whole surface flat, you can just touch in here and then meld it back together. It'll have a slight, you know, bump to it, but it'll be smooth overall. And that's what we're going for. Again, consistency equals precision, because precision isn't always consistent. All right, now you can see we've got a nice established flat, and that whole thing has been done here. We have that burr. We're just going to clean that up. Next is the Trizac. I'm using an A45 here. That just it's about 500 grit. On this 500 grit belt, forgot to say. So we're just going to do the front bevel of that to give that contrast again, and then the back side to do it. Okay. Okay, so again, this is a 120 back here. Made it look like there's a differential in the blade with the Trizac A45, which is about 500. So it just gives it that nice little something. Makes it look good. Contrast. Back side of the blade. Again, not as shiny, but it's consistent, and we do get to the edge. And then we will continue. So the next thing we're going to do, I do like to finish on a stone a little bit, so we're just going to give it a little bit on a stone and then buff it and then give it a strop. So let's do that next. I'm going to use a 1000 grit Chaucer, just one stone on this, because again, this person is going to maintain on their own stones, and then when it's broken, quote unquote broken, they're going to bring it back to me to just reset. I'm going to lap it. I got the Jende diamond lapping plate, 120 here, a little bit of water, marked my stone to the grid marks, so when those grid marks are gone, the stone is flat, right? Okay, the Incredible Hulk is struck again. Good and clean. All right, so I'm just going to come in and do this very front edge angle. Just make it a little shinier. I'm not going to touch the bevel. And then we're going to do the back side just a little bit, just to wipe off that burr. Again, they're going to sharpen on their stuff, and it's going to round over again. So it's going to be real quick to kind of undo what's done here, but it'll complement the way they're sharpening. So I like to kind of walk over that burr just to crunch it off. Makes it easier. All right. And kind of wipe it off again. So now, you know, because we went to stones, everything's changed. Right here, the problem area we had before on the belt is now real. Here it comes. Here it is. And you can see I'm not really getting that tip. There's a slight bevel to it already. Here's where the controversy comes in again. What I'm going to do, because this person already had a microbevel on there from their stones being somewhat dished over time, I'm just going to do it. All right, so I've done my bevel the normal way, and I'm going to do the back side now. What I'm going to do is take this, I'm going to lean into the front, right? But I'm going to lift this up ever so slightly, like just the littlest bit, a hair, not an angle, right? But I'm coming up just a hair, just off the stone, just enough to sort of create that little bend if the stone were dished. And that's it. And that's enough to get it. And I've got my burr on this side, and you can see, I don't know if, where we go, here we are, that thin sliver, right there, you can see it here. All right, that thin sliver, which is essentially what they're going to do the minute they get their knife and put it on their stone again. So I've just helped them. Again, arguments in the comments. So again, just a hair here. It really just takes care of all the mess. It doesn't really throw off the knife. All right. And again, nothing straight, nothing flat. So yeah, all they got to do now is just take it to their stone. And it'll be like nothing ever happened, which is what we're supposed to do here. All right, let's clean this up. But I am going to give it a little bit of buff. I got some 6 micron diamond compound. We're going to do that up first, zoop zoop, and then we're going to strop. Okay. Now on the back side, I'm not trying to get the whole thing. I'm trying to be here and trying to keep it kind of straight. I'm not trying to create an actual another bevel that I have. That's already there. I'm just trying to match that or a little bit less. So kind of come down a little lower so it's almost perpendicular to it. Or parallel, sorry, parallel to it. All right, so that gets everything. All right, zoop zoop. Touch it here. All right, so after that little shine, that 1000 grit really, becomes a mirrory at the 6 micron, while keeping that aesthetic look. The back, that little microbevel, you can see it here, that thin sliver, just enough. It'll match what that person has on their stones. So sharpening will be just routine, but it's just reset. Now I'm going to do one more thing here that someone asked me about, our hard felt strops. So I'm going to do a cut test just off of this. This is just like on a buffer, so it's going to be super slick. I find that when doing the felt, it adds a bite to it, and I like the more bite. I know a lot of people like the slickness, but I like the bite. So anyway, we're going to go and strop. All right, so first this is the cut test as is, right off the buffer. Now the buffer rounds things over because it's high impact, it's fast. Mechanized stropping, it always creates more than it, manual. So it's very smooth, it's very good. It's definitely okay, but it's very slick. So a lot of guys do like the slickness, but I like a little bit of tooth on there. So I got a 1 micron hard felt strop. We've got a hard felt strop with 1 micron spray. Because I like, again, the aggressiveness of the felt. I'll put a link to a video up here that goes through sort of stropping mediums. But I think, to add a little more tooth without too much invasiveness, this is a nice way to do it. So I'm just going to do the flat side flat. Nice and light. My bevel. Just going to do like 2 or 3. That's it. Here. And I'm going to end on the flat side. I'm going to slightly lift that up just a hair. Bit. And there. Alright, that's it. Super light, no pressure. There's definitely going to be no visible differences in that, but definitely got this to it. That's, before it was very slick. Again, I don't know if it's going to come out on the paper as much, but it's actually a lot. I feel like I feel the paper parting as it goes. Every little bit, I could feel the contact. It's not just a slice all the way through. So slippery, what some people say, it gets slippery because it's too polished and doesn't have enough tooth to it. So again, other arguments. So yeah. So this is the Deba.